From Oshkosh Community Media Services, this is Oshkosh City Cable 10 and broadcast on 101.9 FM WOCT Oshkosh. From Oshkosh Community Media Services and the City of Oshkosh, this is the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your City Manager. Your hosts, Nick Austin from Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Nick Austin. On today's show, we preview the upcoming agenda items for the Tuesday, June 11th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. Joining me, as always, City Manager Mark Roloff. And Mark, before we dive into the agenda items, as always, we'll do the municipal highlights. But thanks for being here.
Oh, great to be here, Nick.
All right, so Mark, progress continues to be made with regards to the City Hall underground stormwater storage tank as we pop that video up there. Obviously, much different than the hole in the ground that we started with. Council members and city staff recently taking a tour of the work that's been done so far, and those in attendance actually saying projects like these are vitally important. I know you had to leave right before the meeting ended.
Yeah.
A city lives and breathes by its infrastructure, so it's important to maintain that infrastructure to keep the city going and keeping the foundation of a city strong. Projects like this are essential to maintaining quality of life in a city. They're not always the most glamorous, and they're not always seen by the public, but projects like this help keep water off of the streets and out of people's basements, and that helps keep everybody's quality of life high.
So, Mark, you kind of heard the comments there, but elaborate on that a little bit, if you will, or follow up on it, and just, you know, how nice it is that this project has made so much progress, and really what it represents for the bigger picture, if you will.
For the bigger picture, I think what you see here is that in order to have a sizable impact on flooding, in this case, you need to invest in your infrastructure, and you can see this is a pretty sizable investment. In a couple months it'll be capped and it'll almost be an afterthought, but it's investments like these that are necessary to address stormwater issues. Probably the only, even if it's a disagreement, it's not just a quality of life issue. This is a health and safety issue that we're talking about here, but this only deals with what's called the Division Street watershed, and I always talk about the 120 watersheds, and people say, "You mean this isn't going to help my house? I live over at Washington and Bowen. This won't help it." No, this really only benefits that area between Jackson and Maine and south of New York. That's the only area it really benefits. Right. So we need to do more of these, and we need to do them specific to certain areas. But the impact to here is going to be significant. You just see all the work that's going on there. And the reason we did it, when we did it just today on June 6th, the purpose of that was because we're going to be putting the cap on it starting next week.
Right.
And once the cap's on it, you're never going to see it until 100 years from now when we replace it. So we wanted everybody to see just what it took to make this happen. And what it's doing a lot of things. Because it's an underground tank and not a big hole in the ground in the central city, we're not creating a void in the central city which would devalue property values, and we're trying to get them raised up. So that was really important for this area in particular. I don't know how many of these will ultimately do over the life of our stormwater utility, but it was important for this area that we not have a big open pond, and it's actually a good investment.
Yeah, and I know, at least speaking from personal experience, when I was down there and helping out for the In Your Shoes segment that we did, it was very interesting and unique, and it's much bigger when you're down in the hole, so to speak. That was earlier today, or earlier when you took the tour. Was that your first time down there? And I guess talk about your thoughts and the progress that's been made.
It really is incredible just when you look at the magnitude. I had done my math wrong, and James Robbie, our stormwater engineer, corrected me this morning. This is actually going to be nearly 2 million gallons. I think I was saying 1.6 million.
Okay.
My calculations didn't work. He's the engineer. You trust the engineer.
Sure.
But it's 6 acre-feet of water that it's going to hold, and that's sizable. But it's incredible the amount of gallons. The other equation was to 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So that gives you a point of reference. I mean, there's so many different points of reference, but it's only for one area. So when you take a look at what we're doing at James Road with a 40-acre site that we're building this detention pond on, that it takes a lot of area to hold water,
Right.
To have a good impact on it. So we're real excited about the progress that's being made, and it's demonstrating that we're committed to addressing stormwater management in the city, and we're going to have to continue to do so.
Absolutely. Now, moving right along, a really cool campaign starting up, and I'll let you kind of highlight this, if you will, in the municipal highlights, but tell us a little bit about what you know about Main Street Matters.
This is something that's being sponsored by Benjamin Moore, the paint company. They've identified over 100 North American cities, of which Oshkosh is one of 4 cities in the state of Wisconsin. I'm not going to mention the other ones because I don't want you to vote for them. I want you to go to www.paintwhatmatters.com and vote for the city of Oshkosh. If we are one of the top 20 vote getters, Benjamin Moore with their partners will work with us to basically help spruce up a good part of our downtown area. So
Right.
we're really excited at this possibility. So you're allowed to vote once a day now through June 30th. So I'm going to make sure I go home and vote today and vote tomorrow and the day after that, because this could really highlight Oshkosh for a lot of other reasons. It'd be nice to get the coats of paint, but it's also the community's voting, so they're putting their belief behind us, and it's also going to highlight us with Benjamin Moore ads that we're one of the 20 communities getting selected. So
Right.
They're focusing on main streets. We've got a main street,
Yep.
and so go vote at paintwhatmatters.com, and maybe we'll get a little spruce up job from Benjamin Moore.
Well, it would be nice too. I mean, to talk about you talk about all the work that's been going on down around that area with the hotel opening up, and then the Riverwalk and all the stuff that goes on at the Leach. That would just be one more thing, I would think, to really to make that downtown area even that much more vibrant and attractive to not only people here but outsiders as well. Correct?
Oh, right. You get people showing up and they'll say, "My gosh, they've spruced it up yet again." It really demonstrates community pride, which is a huge part of what we need to do with downtowns is community pride. Downtowns are not always the most accessible anymore. People want to go out by the highway, but downtowns have a certain character, and you really want to highlight that. And this gives us an opportunity potentially to highlight the downtown, and hopefully enough Oshkosh residents will vote to make this happen.
All right, well, this next topic, we talked about this on previous CMR shows, but the fire department, along with the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation, raising money recently for public automated external defibrillators, or AEDs, if you will. They'll be installing them at several locations, and just the other day, they put one in at South Park for Fire Chief Tim Franz. This is just really another step in the evolution of Oshkosh.
With Oshkosh being known as Wisconsin's event city, wanted to take that a step further and not just be Wisconsin's event city, but also be the safest place to hold your event as well. I think it speaks volumes of how supportive this city is and their concern and how generous they are when it comes to life-saving issues such as this, putting these defibrillators in place.
You know, I think he makes a really good point there, Mark, in that it shows a real commitment by the city that you know, Oshkosh cares about the people that are residing within this city. You know, you never want to have to use those things, but at the same time, it's nice to know that you have an option.
We recognize that being proactive about public health is really paramount, and having these AEDs out there give us that capability. And the statistics show when an AED unit is in place, the possibility of somebody surviving a heart attack or something severe like that rises dramatically with the presence of these AEDs. We've identified a variety of parks. South Park you mentioned, Menominee Park, Fugelberg Park.
Let's put that up on the screen. There's a bunch of different locations where there's 24-hour public access.
A lot of areas that are used very regularly. Our highest use areas, Menominee Park, Spanbauer, a lot of the Ball Diamonds, Rainbow Park, boating areas, Fugelberg Boat Launch and 24th Avenue Boat Launch, as well as Opera House Square and the Leach Amphitheater. These are all really high volume areas, and we want to make sure that those are the areas there. And with support from Aurora Healthcare, Affinity Health Systems, and Theta Care, along with a lot of individual donors throughout the city, we've raised $50,000. That's enabling us.
That's impressive.
Yeah, we're going to get 24 AEDs. These are just an example of where some of them are going to be in city facilities. But we're going to be putting them in police cars. We're going to be putting them in sheriff's cars. That's the whole idea, is to get them out there as much as possible, which improves the ability for somebody to maybe have their life saved. I met with somebody a couple years ago who whose life was saved by our fire department having that. Imagine if that AED was in more places that could get people earlier. The opportunity to save a life rises dramatically. So we're going to continue to do this. The Community Foundation has been working with the fire department on this fundraising effort. We've got great partners on donating the money, and I think you're going to see more AEDs throughout the entire community because people recognize that this is an important health issue.
Yeah, very cool story. We're in June now. Coming up, obviously, right behind that is July. And when it comes to 4th of July, everyone associates the 4th of July with fireworks. But we've moved the fireworks show, correct?
Right. Festival Foods has been working with us for a number of years with our fireworks show. They're wonderful partners. But because July 5th is a Friday, we've decided to move the fireworks show to Friday, July 5th, because there might be some people who need to work or get their kids to bed early or something like that. This way, the next day would be a Saturday, so we're moving it to July 5th. Some of the advertisements that you've seen out there are for July 4th, but we thought we would get a bigger and better crowd if we moved it to July 5th. Plus, there's a lot of places that have July 4th fireworks, so we want to be a little different. We've actually done this 4 out of the last 5 years where we've moved it off of July 4th for a variety of reasons, just like this. So we're just going to keep plugging it away because some stuff out there has said July 4th, but we decided July 5th was, for us, for this year, made a lot of sense. So.
Yeah, it seems to make sense, butting it right up to the weekend. And like you said, I think that you probably will see a better turnout.
Yeah, and we're real appreciative of the sponsorship that the city and Festival Foods are now doing. So it's a great partnership, and we're hoping to continue it for years to come.
A project that we've talked about several times on this program, the Central Garage. The bids for the Central Garage were opened several weeks ago now. We actually have some really nice and encouraging news about those bids, correct?
Yeah, it's always encouraging when the bids come in under budget. It's about, we had a $19.7 million budget. We're actually about $1.2 million under budget, so we're real pleased with how the bids came in.
Right.
The good news goes along with sometimes what you thought would be good news. The contractor said, well, gosh, we can get this done in a year and a half. There's no reason for you to wait. And we said, well, there is a reason for us to wait. We've planned to spend, to have this project done over a 3 fiscal year period, meaning part of 2013, all of 2014, and then part of 2015. And they were very much, we can get this done by the end of 2014, don't worry. It's like, oh, we don't have the cash flow for that. We need to borrow over an extended period of time to make this happen. So we're working with the contractor to find a way to have this stretched out over that 3 fiscal year period. So we were originally going to put it on next week's agenda, and we're not going to do that. We're actually going to, we're planning to put it on the June 25th agenda, so we'll be talking about it next time. But we will still have groundbreaking sometime July, August. Real happy to do that, but we need to operate the facility while we're still doing it, and that's the other thing. We want to make sure that we don't disrupt our operations while we're getting this all done.
So with stretching it out the way that you mentioned over those 3 fiscal years, would it be they do some work here and then you kind of, once they get to a certain point, the city kind of says, all right, that's far enough for this particular time and you pay them for the work done to that point? Is that how that works?
Because we're still open at this facility, we got to continue to plow snow and fix streets and do all those things and fix our vehicles. We're actually going to kind of move in somewhat of a circular fashion through the facility. So we'll just be working, but we'll be working slower because we have to accommodate the street division and the central garage operation. So it's not that we're going to start and stop. It's just we're going to start and then go slowly and methodically through the process.
Okay. Well, it's that time. We've reached that time again in the show where it's time for our question mark segment. Okay, Mark, so today's question mark segment, you see people driving around with like a Green Bay Packers license plate, specialty license plates. So the question is can Oshkosh get its own specialty license plate?
Well, it's interesting. We learned a lot when we got this question because this isn't something that's done by us. These license plates are issued by the state. So we're like, well, this is an interesting thing. So you and I had to do a little bit of research.
Right.
And what we found is that for you to get one of these specialty plates, this actually requires special legislation. So we have to get a legislator to sponsor it, and it has to get approved by the entire state legislature. Now, that may or may not be difficult. I'm sure if that was something we really wanted to do, I'm sure we could talk to a legislator and get it done.
I think it rules out getting a Nick Austin fan club specialty license plate, though.
But it goes to your point. It goes to the point that you have to have a very broad base, whether it's Nick Austin fan club, Green Bay Packers, everybody relates to it in the whole state of Wisconsin.
Yep.
For a community, it could be done. The answer is it could be done, and I think that was person asking, but as we did a little more research, we found out that there's an application fee that could range, depending on how many are sold, of anywhere from $3,500 to $15,500.
Right.
But even after the application's done, there's still a setup fee of $43,000 to $45,000.
Right. Not cheap.
No, not cheap at all. So you're looking at an investment in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $65,000. You'd have to sell an awful lot of license plates at $15
before you're even
pop.
before you're even profiting off of it.
Right, and even though we all love Oshkosh, I would suspect that some people still want to keep their University of Wisconsin plate or their endangered resources or their Packers plate. And when you're competing with the Packers, that's going to be awfully tough.
Yep.
So while we found the answer to the question, the likelihood of it happening is probably pretty slim because I don't see us getting our money back if we were to pay for the setup. So it's an interesting question. Appreciate getting it. But you learn something new every day.
All right, Mark, well, we have to take a break, but when we come back on the City Manager's Report, we preview the upcoming agenda items for the Tuesday, June 11th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Mayor Bergtauer, and I'm asking for your help. The city has several boards and commissions that play important roles in just about every aspect of local government. Whether it's the Parks Board or the Landmarks Commission, these and other boards act as a forum for citizens to address their concerns and questions about Oshkosh city government. The boards also provide members the opportunity to make positive suggestions to the council or city staff to move the city forward. So here's where we need your help. For our city to work effectively, we need active citizen participation. Many of our boards and commissions currently need members. We're asking for just a few hours of your time each month to serve on one of our boards or commissions and help to ensure a strong democratic process. So please consider serving on a city board or commission. For an application, visit the city website, stop by the city manager's office in City Hall, or call 236-5000. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your possible involvement.
welcome back. It's time to jump right into the upcoming agenda items. And Mark, looking right down into the consent agenda items, first thing that I think we want to address here, item number 4, accept public utility and sidewalk easements from Quick Trip at 1090 North Washburn Street. So give people an idea, where is this actually going to be located, this Quick Trip?
Well, for those of you who've been around for a while, ironically, it's almost in the same location where the former Quick Trip gas station was, except in those days it was actually accessible right off of Highway 21. What's being done is now that the Highway 41-21 interchange is done over there, they've sold property to Quick Trip to develop it there. It'll still be almost in the exact same area, but it's going to be accessed off of Washburn. But what's happening, you'll know that at the intersection of Westtown and Washburn, it's a 3-way intersection right now.
Okay.
It's going to become a 4-way intersection. The 4th way will be the access to the Quick Trip store.
So then the question is, who's paying for those improvements, if you will?
I love the answer to that question, because the answer is not us. That's something that Quick Trip's required to do as part of the development process. They recognize that they'll be responsible for any and all costs to add the extra signal face, any other accommodations, programming, new equipment, anything that has to get done, as well as the opening to the street itself. That'll all be paid for by Quick Trip. But whenever we have a piece of property, especially at a high-profile intersection like Highway 21 and 41, anytime there's a vacant piece of property, the question inevitably comes up, what's going there? So I'm giving you the scoop. It's Quick Trip. It's not that big a secret, but if you aren't watching building permits at City Hall, you may not know that. So this is just a way to let everybody know.
Item number 5, right underneath that one, is really dealing with the unit or the trucks that we use to clean out the sewers, right?
Yeah, I don't normally talk about when we're awarding bids for sewer trucks, because that's not exactly a fun topic. But this one is what's called a jetter, and it used to just be used to clean out the sewers, and we have the sanitary sewers. We have a pretty regular schedule that we keep, and we still do keep that. But with the amount of storm sewers that we're now doing, we're actually using it to clean out our storm sewers a lot more. And the last segment, when we showed the big underground detention pond, we've been working on access so that we can get in there, and we'll be using this type of unit to clean this pond, because remember, that area where you see the crane there right now, that's actually where a lot of sediment's going to build up, and the gunk's got to get cleaned out. So using a jetter truck like this, a jetter or a vacuum truck, we'll probably be using these types of pieces of equipment to clean out ponds and storm sewers, because that's a very effective way to do it.
Another consent agenda item worth mentioning is item number 10. It's dealing with approved resolution determining to issue $18,150,000. It's borrowing. What is the borrowing for?
Yeah, well, it's as it says, it's stormwater utility revenue bonds. So it's all about the stormwater utility. And these projects cost money. Your stormwater fees pay for these projects, and we want to show you're getting a return on your investment. So we're doing these projects just like we talked about previously. But in this case, we do a lot of borrowing because these projects are going to last us a very long time. And so you want to make sure that whoever's paying for that are the beneficiaries of it. If we just paid those in cash, the people today would be paying for everything that we've needed from the past as well as the future. By borrowing, what we're doing is we're spreading out the payments to the people who are actually benefiting from. And the people benefiting from it are the people who have impervious surface. So that's what we do. The good news about this is that we get our bonds rated. In our case, we get them rated by Moody's Investor Service.
So what's the rating?
The rating is actually very good. We have what's called a AA3, which is the 3rd highest rating that you can get for municipal bonds. And we're very fortunate to have that. Now, Moody's is concerned because we we've been increasing our rates in recent years. Everybody knows you get it on your bill. And they're concerned how are you going to sustain that? And I can tell people that you can expect our stormwater rates to continue to increase because we need to keep pace with the projects that we're doing. And Moody's is concerned because These are revenue bonds, exclusively based on the revenue we raise from our stormwater fees. And so while we have a very good rating, they're keeping their eye on us because they want to make sure that we're going to continue to be able to pay off these bonds as they get done. And when you're issuing $18 million in bonds, you're picking up a lot of debt. And so they want to make sure we're doing that. We are committed to doing it. It is going to require future rate increases. I know that's going to be tough for a lot of people, especially people on fixed income, but we need to correct a lot of past problems as well as address future needs. So this is what you're going to see.
Under pending ordinances, item number 15 is dealing with the suspension of park privileges or authorizing the suspension of those. Now, I know some people might go, well, so if I have my dog run off or not a park, you can't have dogs in the park, but people might be thinking, if I get, there's no warning here. It might just be a one and done. That's not what it is, though, correct?
No, this is intended to do a couple things. One is to correct a pattern behavior that is unacceptable in our parks, specifically breaking rules and regulations that we have in place.
Right.
Some people have said, well, will this take care of certain people in the park, certain undesirable groups? Will this take care of protesters, groups that gather that I don't particularly care for? The answer is no, it's not going to take care of that because those people have constitutional rights to be there. This has to do with breaking rules in the park. So if a dog is in the park and somebody continues to do it, after a while it could lead to something like this.
Right.
Hopefully people will just know that the first and second violations that they need to have a pattern to correct themselves.
Right.
But if we see a pattern of behavior that does not get corrected, we've in consultation with the district attorney, we feel that this is one more tool that the police department and the parks department have at their disposal if it's necessary to modify the behavior of people who don't exhibit good behavior in the parks. This is a tool that we can use. This isn't for first offenses or anything like that. Like you said, somebody that doesn't know that they can have a dog in the park and it happens, you get out of the park and then it's over and done with. But pattern behavior that we know that these people know what the rules are, they've been fined or they've been addressed previously. When you see that pattern, we want to address those patterns.
Yeah, you want to keep the parks, something like a Menominee Park especially, you want to keep a park like that attractive to the masses. And if you have repeat offenders in volume, that would detract from that, I would think. Right.
And if you don't like softball and you see softball at Menominee Park, you're not going to see that problem. If you see a group of young people congregating at Opera House Square, they have a right to be there.
Right.
If they, litter or get into fights or public urination or things like that, then you're talking about something completely different. That's what this is intended to address. So we'll see how this goes. There are certain civil liberty issues that are out there, and the council's aware of those. And if that comes up, that's a legitimate policy discussion for council to have. But our intention is to address poor behavior.
Right. We mentioned that we just kind of touched on a little bit that dogs aren't allowed in the parks, but item number 16 is actually dealing with that the dogs will be allowed on the Riverwalk when that's all said and done.
We're putting in rules and regulations specifically for the Riverwalk, and they are under the jurisdiction of the Parks Department, but because the Riverwalk is really, it's not a park, it's not a sidewalk, it's a combination. So because of that mixture, we are recommending that dogs be allowed to be on the Riverwalk. And so those types of rules are going to be established within this ordinance, as well as things like boat parking and what rules exist over near the Leach, what exists near the new hotel, those types of rules and regulations so that the public's aware of them, and then we do some education on it. Under
council discussion, item number 22 is reviewing Class B licenses or liquor licenses. So give us the lowdown on this, the scoop on this, if you would.
This has to do with inactive liquor licenses, businesses that have been closed for more than a year. And in those cases, we need direction from council because some people have said, well, these inactive liquor licenses, we should do something about them. Should we revoke them? Should we, and if that happens, we have to give them a hearing. So the question is, are we going to revoke them, or are we going to issue them and allow them to continue to hold these licenses in their inactive state? I think council's leaning towards revoking these licenses.
All right, Mark. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the City Manager's Report. But thank you, as always, for all your insight and knowledge into to everything that we discussed.
Oh, glad to do it.
And thank you to everyone out there for tuning in.